I'd like to call the regularly scheduled meeting of the Plaquemines Parish Council as the sole governing authority of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District to order at 1 o'clock p.m. for the June 11, 2015 meeting, and the machine is open for roll call.
It's me.
Let the record reflect that all 9 council members are here. The parish president and his staff are here, and the executive director of the port, Sandy Sanders, is here with his staff. This time we'll ask Ms. Salvant to lead us in the prayer and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
We take this moment to acknowledge Almighty God and thank Him for our bountiful blessing, especially for this parish natural resources. We give thanks to God for our brave and courageous men and women and our military who daily risk their lives to protect our precious freedom, and we pray for our world leaders to know how to obtain world peace. We pray that this government body, comprised of both council and administration, will always serve our parish with honesty, humility, and equality to all. We also pray for the wisdom to know right from wrong and the courage to do that which is right. As this government body gathers here today, we pray that we will be spared from all harm and destruction this hurricane season. Amen.
Amen. Please follow me. Pledge allegiance.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. This time there is no executive session. We will move directly to the status report by the executive director.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, and board members. I am Sandy Sanders, Executive Director of Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District. Follows is my Executive Director report for the reporting period of 28 May to 10 June. There are no ordinances or resolutions being introduced today, and other than our staff going to the new port building and sizing it up, this is going to be a pretty short and sweet director's report. So subject to your questions or comments from the audience or questions, this concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Are there any comments or questions? I think we might want to just inform the public that negotiations and all are still going on with clients under NDAs and those type of things to make sure that the public knows that the port is still moving forward trying to develop itself.
Yes, sir, and I would also like the folks in this audience to know that we are working very hard on your behalf for this port, and soon I believe we'll be able to have some good news for you. But we are covered by non-disclosure agreements, but again, I'm here to answer questions that I can within my purview.
Any comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll move to bids and advertisements, which we have none. Introductions of ordinances and resolutions, none that we have today. Any new business? If not, we will move and skip directly to approval of the May 28, 2015 minutes. Would someone like to offer the minutes for approval? Councilman Bartholomew offers. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Lapine. Any comments or discussion on the minutes? Hearing none. The machine is open on the approval of the May 28, 2015 meeting minutes. And the minutes are adopted 9-0. We have a motion to adjourn the port meeting today. Councilman Edgecombe moves to adjourn. Councilman Juneau moves second. The machine is open on the adjournment. And the meeting is adjourned at 1:06 p.m. Thank you. At this time, we'll move to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Plaquemines Parish Council for June the 11th. The machine is open for roll call. Let the record reflect that all 9 council members are present. Parish President Cormier and his staff are in attendance as well. And at this time, we will move to Proclamations, we have none. Status report of the parish president. Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, we'll start off with a report about the fees from our Director of Administration, and then we'll move to boat harbors with Director of Operations Stanley Wallace, and of course Reverend Giles will make his comments from Public Service, and I'll finish up. Mr. Terrio.
Sometime back, the council requested that administration start working on possible fees increase to generate some revenues. We took care of water. Recently, the council was provided with a proposed ordinance on festival grounds and pavilions. The council now has the authority to change the fees or change it and do the final draft. Presently, we're working with legal on the ferries, rate for the ferries, and fees in the health department. So we need your input as soon as we can on the festival grounds and pavilion. As soon as we agree on some fees or changes in the ordinance, then it goes back to the council for approval. That's it.
Director Wallace on the boat harbor.
On the boat harbors, we sent out 247 receipts for trying to collect money from our stables. In return, we got 125 back returns. I got 95 didn't answer. We collect the amount of $17,062.73.
Mr. Wallace, excuse me 1 second, please. At the harbor, we have some problem with crab. I'm not talking about that. There's something else concerning the boat harbor. We want to address it another time. I don't have a problem doing it. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. Let me give an update on the Plaquemines Ferry Pride, which is a sore subject, but it must be addressed. The Pride has been at Bullinger Shipyard since November 10th of 2014. Yesterday they went out on sea trial. Everything went well with that. What we're trying to do, we're trying to schedule a Coast Guard inspection, preferably Monday or Tuesday of next week. If everything goes well with that and there's no glitches, we're hoping to have the Pride back in Belle Chase either Friday of the week coming up or the week of the 22nd of June. So it's our desire to get it back next week. As I indicated to the general manager of Bullinger Shipyard, this is our hurricane season. We've been having problems with our ferries, little minor things, and so they've been expediting the process. And so everything went well yesterday, so preferably, hopefully by Monday or Tuesday, we'll have that Coast Guard inspection, and if everything goes well, the Pride should be back either Friday or Monday of the following week. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
One of the things that I've been working on with the administration, and of course, when we went to Washington, and I'm going to repeat myself from last week since that meeting was not aired out, but I wanted to rekindle the seeds to look at a bridge over the Mississippi River to unite Plaquemines Parish. The reason being is, as you well know, in the 80s they had looked into this, they had done some studies from Chalmette to Algiers. Algiers was not really excited about that. And at that time, we did not have the Peters Road project. The Peters Road Bridge was not on the scene. But now, if you'll look at it, if you go from Houston to Lafayette, you make that turn off of Highway 90, you can come right down Peters Road to Harvey Canal, and you'll be able to get into Walker Road. And, of course, that would be a perfect place, in other words, to have a bridge over the river. It would also be in position, in other words, it would open up with the all leases in the Eastern Gulf. It would benefit the state of Louisiana. It would relieve any traffic congestions, as with the original bridge idea was, over the Crescent City connection. And of course, if the problem is, and why I'm sharing this with you, is that we're under a time schedule with BP. I'm trying to get BP involved with some credits that they could utilize with the Restore Act from an infrastructure standpoint, or an economic standpoint, to get the state and the Treasury Department working in that direction. And of course, just like you have the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, hopefully, in other words, somebody would take it over, preferably somebody like BP, that we get the public relations, get to name the bridge. You have the Golden Gate Bridge on the west coast, you have the Brooklyn Bridge on the east coast, but we really do not have a named bridge here that would be the gateway, as Plaquemines Parish is the gateway parish, coming and going into the Mississippi River for 2/3 of the United States. And of course, at that same time, we would provide an evacuation route for the people on the lower end, down by below Phoenix, and there is a possibility of that area there that you have a 5-mile gap where you have no back levee that would also be solidified. It would increase, as I said, the transportation. It would be a benefit to St. Bernard Parish, as well as a great idea for the east bank of the river to capitalize on that. And of course, you just pick up on that. The other thing that would come into question is the Crescent City and the UEP Long will, in the next 3 or 4 years, will be presented with a problem about lighting. It's going to cost probably $400,000 a year or somewhere in that vicinity to light those bridges. The tolls, we would be the only toll bridge that would exist, since the Crescent City doesn't have tolls in the UEP Long, so we could possibly help them out. And of course, with the money we would save with the ferry situation, we could also put that money toward maintenance or what have you with the bridge. So I think what we're trying to do is get as many people involved, get as many ideas as possible. As you know, I don't think it can be just my idea. We've got to get somebody to run with this. We did mention it up in Washington with some people that might be running for certain offices in the state. And so that's the direction we're trying to move in, because the settlement money from BP and all will be coming with the judges. So if anybody has any suggestions or help that they can give us on that, like I said, we'd love to hear from you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, and thank you for the report. Are any comments or discussion on the reports? If not, I'd like to thank the administration for working on these issues, and especially the fee and proposals on the utilization of the facilities and so forth. And I know y'all have prepared that, and it's really in our court now to move forward. So thank you for preparing that, and I would encourage the council members to be able to get together very soon to try to address those ordinances or those potential ordinances so we can implement those ideas. Other than that, thank you again for the reports. Any further comments or discussion? If not, we'll move.
Mr. Chairman, excuse me, one other item that I did not want to report on today, but to let you know that the council and the administration has been working on it. The legislature will close this afternoon, and there is a possibility that we will have some money that might be coming from Commissioner Strain from the agricultural aspect. And so, but I'd hate to comment further on that until it's a done deal when the bell rings up in Baton Rouge.
Thank you. Move to item bids and advertisements. There are none. Beer and liquor license. Councilmember Bartholomew?
Have none.
None.
Have none.
I have none.
I have none.
I have none.
Have none.
I have two. A special events permit application for the Bureau's Volunteer Fire Department to put on a fireworks show at Fort Jackson, which will be held starting July 4th around noon, extending to 9 p.m. Alcoholic beverage application for Cypress Grill LLC, 226 Cypress Cove Road, Venice, Louisiana, 70091.
Councilmember Williams offers the two special event permits and the one special event permit and a liquor permit. Is there a second? Second, by Councilmember Edgecombe. Any comments or discussion on either of the items? Hearing none, machine is open. And the permit and this liquor license are approved 9-0. At this time, I'd like to ask the council members to go through the agenda for deferrals and withdrawals so we can clear the agenda for those that might be waiting on an item that might not be dealt with today. Councilmember Bartholomew.
Have none.
Councilmember Black. None. Councilmember Payne. None. Councilmember Juneau. I have none. Councilman Black. Burt.
I'm going to withdraw 6C and 6D.
6C and 6D. Councilmember Salvant.
I have none.
Councilmember Edgecombe.
I have none, sir.
And Councilmember Williams.
I have none.
Okay, for today's items, the items that will be withdrawn will be 6C and D. At this time, then, we will move to building permits, construction.
Item 4A1, Eustis Engineering, application number 2015-421, dated May 11, 2015. Install 7 soil borings, 2500 block of Engineers Road. Councilmember Russell. Item 4A2, Restoration Systems LLC, application number 2015-475, dated May 29, 2015, to dredge Mississippi River and lay a dredge discharge pipe on the River Batcher and construct a mitigation bank wetland for the Jesuit Bend Marsh Creation Project, Jesuit Bend. Council members Burt and Edgecombe. Item 4A3, W.L. Wyman Construction Company, application number 2015-478, dated June 1, 2015. Install a boathouse, Hummingbird Lane, Myrtle Grove, Lot 329. Councilmember Trufant Salvant.
At this time, is there any objection to taking items 4A, 1, 2, 3, and Globo
Actually, if you would, sir, number 3, that'd take separately, please.
separately?
Yes.
Any objection to taking items 4A, 1, and 2 in Globo? Hearing none, I'll offer and ask for a second. Second by Councilmember Burt. Any comments or discussion on building permits items 4A1 and 4A2? None. Well, machine is open. And the permits are adopted 9-0. We'll move to item 4A3. Councilmember Salvant, you wish to offer?
Yes.
Councilman Salvant offers. Is there a second?
Council, wait. Yes, offering, providing that, well, go ahead, let's get a second on it first.
Is there a second by Councilmember Juneau?
Okay, I want to refer to the permit department and make sure that, because of the fact that this permit is being offered in my name, I want to make sure that it was vetted properly and it's good to go.
I'm sorry, Councilmember, I didn't hear.
Can you turn on the mic, please?
Mr. Metcalf, the fact that this permit is being offered in my name, I just want to make sure that the permit department can confirm that this permit has been properly vetted.
Yes, it has, and it's ready for your consideration, Councilmember.
Okay.
Thank you.
With that said, Mr. President, I'll offer.
Any further comments or discussion on the item being offered?
Yes, I'll be present, not voting.
Let the record reflect. Any further comments or discussion? Hearing none, machine is open. Let the record reflect that the ordinance is adopted 8-0 with one abstention, that being of Councilmember Edgecombe. Yes, Mr.
May I
President.
interrupt just a moment, please, to introduce our new public information officer? If he would please stand up, Michael Powell.
Congratulations and welcome aboard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Michael.
As we had discussed earlier, that now you are the public PIO officer for the government, which includes everybody? Yes. Thank you. I just want to make it clear that this is not a replication of what's happened in some instances. Thank you. Move to item introductions of ordinances and resolutions. Council Member Bartholomew.
Yes. An ordinance to amend General Fund 2015 operating expenditure budget, Building Department, Dave Ant, Precinct, Griffin Center, the 5-year capital improvement plan, signed East Department project, and improvement, the Breakaway Auditorium project, otherwise to provide respect thereto. The other is an ordinance to amend the General Fund 2015 operating expenditure budget, swimming pool, Dave Ant, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to transfer fund from the B2 Vegetation Ridge and the Marsh project from Fort Jackson to Venice to the inspection and repair and restoration of culverts serving the Reach Sea Levee from Phoenix to Bohemia and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to transfer funds from the Reed Beach 2 Vegetation Ridge and Marsh Creation Project from Fort Jackson to Venice to the East Bank Levees Hurricane Protection Project, otherwise to provide with respect thereto. That's all I have at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councilmember Black.
Yes, a resolution assigning office space in the Belchase Government Complex on F. Edward Avery Boulevard, Building 102, Belchase, Louisiana, to various parish departments and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend and amended to readopt Section 4 of Ordinance Number 142, the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance of Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, as amended in the Comprehensive Zoning District Map, therein adopted by reference, in which is paragraph thereto, with reference to application number 2015-122, dated April 13th, 2015. A resolution denying the requested map change filed by J. Sergovich LLC from RM Multiple Family Zoning District to RM2 Multiple Family Zoning District for property located on Lot K2 Kimball Street, Belchase, Louisiana, all in accordance with application number 2015-122, dated April 13th, 2015. A resolution conditionally approving a plan of re-subdivision of portion of Tract 3-D-1 of Belchase Plantation, as shown on the Parks of Plaquemines Phase 1, Subsection 1D, being a part of Subsection B, Belchase Plantation, Belchase, Louisiana, by Hugh McCurdy III, PLS, dated March 12, 2015, without cost to the Plaquemines Parish government or the Parish of Plaquemines. I'd like to just add on line 5, there's a typo, so we'll take care of that after. Thanks. That's it.
Councilmember Lapine.
I have one. An ordinance to amend the General Fund 2015 Operating Expenditure Budget, Telecommunications Department, and the 5-year Capital Improvement Plan, Maintenance Parish-wide 001 Project, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Thank you.
Councilmember Juneau. I have an ordinance to partially rescind and annul and set aside ordinance number 11-222, which restructured the Permits, Planning, and Zoning Department and amended the General Fund Manpower Structure Budget, Permits, Planning, and Zoning Department, various line items and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. A resolution authorizing Amos J. Cormier, Jr. on behalf of the Plaquemines Parish government to name and accept the proposal of the Plaquemines Parish Gazette as the official journal for the Plaquemines Parish Council and all other political subdivisions and districts situated therein, of which the Plaquemines Parish Council is the governing authority. And an ordinance approving a plan of re-subdivision of the property of Versaland Properties, LLC, Belchase, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, as shown on the plan of re-subdivision tract BR into BR98 and BR9B by Tilton J. Dufran, Jr., registered land surveyor, dated November the 11th, 2014, the owner having fulfilled the requirements of the subdivision and re-subdivision ordinance of the Parish of Plaquemines without cost to the Plaquemines Parish government or the Parish of Plaquemines and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. And an ordinance to amend the General Fund 2015 Operating Expenditure to Telecommunications Department and the 5-year Capital Improvements Plan, Maintenance Parish-wide 001 Project, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. And let me ask you, Mr. Lapine, was that for message boards that someone introduced a minute ago?
I sure did.
That's a duplicate?
Yeah.
Withdraw that under my name and allow that to Mr. Lapine, please.
I think that's
Okay. That's all I have. Move on to Councilmember Salvon.
And the first one being an ordinance to amend the 2015 Waterworks and Sewer Fund, Manpower Structure, Waterworks Billing/Collection Department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. A resolution authorizing the parish president to accept donations to offset the cost of the Plaquemines Parish government of relocating a certain structure to Grand Bayou for a temporary community center and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. An ordinance by the Plaquemines Parish Council as on behalf of the West Bank Levee District to appropriate new perpetual flood protection levee, flood wall, and drainage ditch easement in certain portions of land in Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, to construct the New Orleans to Venice NOV-NFS NFW-06B.1 Wood Park flood walls, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, for levee drainage, flood, and hurricane protection, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Thank you.
I have one, sir. Yes, an ordinance to rescind, annul, and set aside ordinance number 14-160 and to assign the Civil Service Department permanent office space in the Port Suffolk Government Building, Port Suffolk, Louisiana, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. That's all I have, sir.
Thank you, Councilmember Williams.
I have three. An ordinance to amend and amended to readopt Section 4 of Ordinance Number 142, the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance of Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, as amended, and the Comprehensive Zoning District map, therein adopted by reference and which is paraphrased thereto with reference to application number 2015-124 dated April 21st, 2015. A resolution denying the requested map change filed by James Kim from C-2 General Commercial Zoning District to MH Mobile Home Zoning District for property located at 40762 Highway 23, Boothville, Louisiana, all in accordance with application number 2015-125 dated April 21st, 2015. And a resolution denying the requested map change filed by James Kim from C-2 General Commercial Zoning District to MH Mobile Home Zoning District, property located on 40744 Highway 23, Boothville, Louisiana, all in accordance with application number 2015-124 dated April 21st, 2015.
Are there any further introductions today? None at this time. It's been requested we move to item L, 6L.
An ordinance to amend the Public Fund 2015 operating expenditure budget, Health General Department, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Councilmember Burt.
I'll offer with changes. Line 7, when insert 40,000. Also on line 7, the general fund. Line 8, unreserved, undesignated fund balance is requested. Line 9, whereas once funding is received from the state in the amount of $160,000, said funding of $40,000 will be refunded back to the general fund undesignated, unreserved fund balance. Line 15, insert 40,000. The general fund unreserved, undesignated fund balance as follows. And on line 19, insert 40,000. With those changes, I will offer.
Councilmember Burt offers. Is there a second?
Yes, sir.
Councilman Edgecombe seconds. Proceed, Councilmember Burt.
You know, what this does is, this item came before this council a few months ago in reference to the aerial spraying. And at the time, we were going through budget hearings, cutting funding, and now this item is back before us. I think now is the time that we revisit this issue and help these farmers with this citronella, I think that's what it's called. So that's what this $40,000 is for, is to get the first spraying started while we're waiting on this $160,000 to come from the state. I just want to make note that, as Mr. President mentioned, there is funding that's coming from the state, and once we receive that, we would refund the general fund back with that $40,000. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Got any further comments from the table? Mr. Becknell, I see you rise.
I want to thank you all there once again there for bringing this up. There it means so much to us. I can look across there the room and see 40 to 50 of our fellow growers. So this means so much there to us that this program stays in place. That we promise that we will do our part. We will continue spraying just like we have been doing. This spray program that y'all have been doing for the past 7 years is almost like an insurance that on top of us spraying, when the helicopter does spray, it covers from A to Z. This insect has no place that it to run in there and hide. So look at it almost as like a insurance program. I would ask y'all maybe for the next couple minutes to go in there, remove your council member's hat, and let's be a true business people. If I was to ask you if I would be representing a industry and tell you that the money that you all there would spend, that you could have that would return on your investment of like 50 to 1, I would think that everyone would say, well, golly, Ricky, that's just good business sense. And that's what we're talking about. That we're talking about spending dollars here that will go to protect the entire Plaquemines Parish on a 50 to 1 ratio. I think that that's pretty good odds. You know, they're the huge impact. This not only encompasses our whole industry, but also our restaurants, our gas stations, our quick picks, all of these different entities that reap the benefits of our customer base coming down. I mean, it is a huge, just a huge impact on the entire people over multiple states. This is going to affect thousands and thousands of people. I don't think that any of you in all 9 districts can say, well, this is not going to affect me. There are citrus trees in every one of your districts. So this is, y'all don't have to barter and say, well, you know, help me up on this one, and this means so much to you. This is going to go and affect each and every one of your districts. In this money, it's not only to go in and control the 500 there were commercial acres, but also 7,200 homeowners that it's going to go in and protect them. So these dollars is just not for the commercial, but all of Belchase, everybody's backyards. In closing, it was said point blank that this administration had nothing to do with the removal of the money. And I would like to say that it really doesn't matter whether it was the old or it was the current. That's up in the past. You know, moving forward, but today, you all have an opportunity to show and be proud of us, of all the work that we've done over the generations. I am asking you all to please consider this is a program that has been worthwhile. It has worked. You know, it is a insurance policy that will help the entire Plaquemines Parish. So please, in just the next couple of minutes, vote yes on this. You know, I would like to see not just 5 votes. I don't want to see 5 votes. I would like to see 9 votes and show our whole industry that everyone is united in this. So please, do y'all have any questions for me?
I'd like to have a little down-to-earth discussion.
Absolutely.
And I understand, you know, your position and how the growers want this assistance. However, some of the hiccups are we've just gotten sued for doing this very thing. We have been sued by somebody in the parish because we did spray. So at this point, we're looking at defending a lawsuit because we sprayed versus protecting the farmers that we did not spray or would not spray. Now, my approach to this problem, I looked at the Attorney General's opinion that started all of this, and it's very clear in the Department of Agriculture and Immigration shall have full and plenary power to deal with all crop and fruit pests and such. This seems to be where the money is going now at the state level, a responsibility that the Department of Agriculture should address. And he goes so far as to say, there's a court case cited in here, and we had this discussion at the last meeting, that if it's in the best interest of the industry, you can actually go and take those trees out that are causing the problem. Now, we had this discussion, and it said that last time it would be a legal issue if we decided to go and try to do that. Well, now we're in a legal issue. We're being sued for doing it. And if I'm wrong that we're not being sued, then I'd like to be clarified, because that's the position that I was understanding. And
Glad to clarify.
go clarify, please, real quick.
Last year, during the spraying program, the helicopter sprayed what was supposed to be an organic farm and was supposed to be exempt from the spraying. That's the issue in the lawsuit, not just general spraying. And that is a legitimate issue. And the gentleman who owns that orchard sued, saying that he had an organic farm and that we negligently, or this helicopter negligently sprayed his organic farm. It wasn't generally because it's not like we got sued because we sprayed. They were doing a job, they were negligent, and the gentleman's going to be made whole, I would assume, in his lawsuit. It did not affect the general industry.
Wait, let me finish, since he was clarifying the issue. So the bottom line is we did get sued. Now, going back to your original comments that we're going to spray everything and everybody, and that's going to be the answer. Obviously now we have to look at not spraying certain areas. Or we have to address the real problem, and that's the neglected the neglected trees or the abandoned orchards, or however you want to describe them. Now, for me to vote for this, I have to feel comfortable that we will be able to stand up and defend the parish's efforts in court to be able to move forward and also be able to identify and remove the problem. Because if I'm understanding correctly, this is a program that we will be paying for from now on. Is that the intention?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I would like to use the word adopted.
I understand that.
Yes.
Now, to me, when we get to that point where we have to do this every year, this becomes an operational cost of the government that we are assuming for a private industry. I've had shrimpers and fishermen call me and say, well, look, the price of fuel is through the roof right now. The price of shrimp is under the cellar. When are you going to put a program in place to help us? Because we're a private industry, we're part of the culture. So while it is a very difficult call for me how I'm going to vote, because now that the state has stepped up and put the money in, I believe that the state, and according to this Attorney General's opinion, which all of this started from, the Department of Agriculture and Immigration shall have the authority to address this problem. So, with that being said, and reading that, the court found that it was a competent exercise of the police power of the state to be able to address this. So, I'm torn between voting and voting against it. And I was asking the councilman who sponsored this to at least wait till 6 o'clock this afternoon to see if the appropriation is going to be made in the budget. And because in January we were told you got to spray today. And now we're 6 months later, we're being told today you got to spray today. So as far as the insurance issue, I understand that it's a good selling point to say we are ensuring that you continue to be able to produce crops. At the same time, I believe it's the Department of Agriculture's responsibility to go in and remove the problem, to eliminate us from having to do that in the future. Because you have said, and many times I've heard, that the growers are responsible and spraying. So if the responsible grower is spraying and taking care of their farm, then I don't see, and I'm not an epidemiologist or whatever you want to describe it as how that's going to affect the guy that we're not going to be able to spray next door. How do we address those issues, I guess, is my question.
Well, I would first like to start, and you threw plenty at me, so if I didn't answer everything, please, there you can speak up there once again. We all have been in touch with Commissioner Strain. He is claiming that he is fixing to have money. He doesn't know for certain exactly how much, but there's definitely money coming. That will definitely shrink the annual and overall cost and target these abandoned groves. So we already have that in Mr. Roussel. We have been doing this now for 7 years. Your own guys are very very good, and they can hit the ground running. As far as being sued, I was hoping that would not come up, but that was an unfortunate incident that one of the organic growers, which, by the way, is not even implemented in this program. He is an organic grower that has never been sprayed and did not want to be sprayed. I'm not taking up for him. I'm not saying he's right. I'm not saying that he's wrong. But I do have with me from Mr. Don O'Hensey, he's the helicopter pilot, he has an insurance certificate that I have with me, that I have copies that anyone can see, that mentions Plaquemines Parish government as additionally insured. So if an incident like this was to ever happen, he had told me, he said, Ricky, this is for any type of accident, any type of drift. This is what the insurance policy is for. So, don't let this one little incident that in Mr. Roussel tarnish all of the good that has been done there for the last 7 years. It was unfortunate. There was one pass there from my understanding. Then when they realized where they were at, this is a very small farmer. He has a very small orchard. It was unfortunate, but this insurance policy, which I do have if anyone wants to look at it, is in place, and it mentions Plaquemines Parish government under this policy. So, I can't see, and plus, that was 14 months ago. That was not, we've already sprayed since then. This was not, just several months ago, and now this big major lawsuit is going on. This was 14 months ago. We sprayed since then in the fall program. So this did not just happen 6 months ago. This was 14 months ago that this incident happened.
So let me ask you this then. It might have been 14 months ago. The fact remains is that we got sued. Now you're saying that the helicopter pilot is going to indemnify us and fight the case for us?
I'm not in any way saying that there, Mr. Roussel. What I am saying is that there is a insurance certificate in place that is supposed to handle and cover issues like this. This helicopter pilot told me, Rick, you can clearly see on the bottom of this page, Plaquemines Parish government is listed. If a problem was to happen, if any kind of, this was his words, even if a drift was to go up on someone's property, it's covered. That's what the insurance policy is for.
So I'm just assuming that our legal department is going to pursue this insurance policy to defend us.
We already have.
I'm assuming that. Okay.
I can explain it to you if you wish. The insurance, the helicopter people have insurance. They were sued as well as the parish. They have to defend the, yes. In answer to Rick's question, absolutely. They're named in the lawsuit. So it's not just us. They have insurance, the people that have the helicopters. And that insurance company was named as a party to the suit. So if there's a judgment, if nothing else happens, then they will have to pay the judgment, not us. And it was an isolated incident. Unfortunate, but isolated.
Mr. Roussel.
Okay, let me just follow this train of thought.
Please.
So now that we take care of the lawsuit, how do we address the future spraying if we're not going to be able to spray all of the parish? We're going to have to stop spraying certain areas of the parish. How does that affect the program?
No, sir. This program, they will stay in there exactly there where it was at. Your whole health department has the maps. It's all pinged where the orchards are, where the designated trees that the Cortec tablet is going to be down. It was an unfortunate problem that one of the organic farmers that was sprayed by one swipe.
I'm trying to focus in my mind. The reason the parish is doing this is because we have the Department of Agriculture really has the authority, but in this opinion it says that because they have it, we can assume it. What I'm trying to get to is that if we cannot spray the entire parish anymore, and we have not, in fact, been spraying the entire parish all along because of these organic grows, how does that...
That you have been spraying there. all of the parish has been being sprayed with the exception of the organic growers. I mean, that's what an organic grower is. He wants his beneficial insects that to come and live, and that's what they're hoping, is that the good insects will overtake these bad insects. So the entire parish has been being sprayed, including the backyard trees.
And so by not spraying them now,
By not spraying what, sir?
these organic grows, or people that do not want us to spray their grows, what exposure does that put on the rest of the grows that we are supposed to be addressing because we're spraying all of the grows?
Nothing has changed over the last 7 years. With the handful of organic growers that wants to build up their beneficial insects by not spraying, that's their choice. But all of the abandoned groves, including all of our growers that's in the back of the room, they're sprayed as a blanket. We're spraying constantly. But this helicopter is very fast. It sprays from A to Z within 48 hours. It can't move this insect from row to row. That's what our ground rigs actually do. Some of them, they will kind of move and go to the next row, go to the next row. Eventually, you shoo him out, he gets on to the next neighbor's property. This helicopter, even though we're spraying, he's got no place to run and hide. It's very effective. So to try to answer your question one more time, nothing is going to change. The organic farmers will stay organic. The abandoned groves will be sprayed, but with the help of the Commissioner Strain, he is going to have there some monies that will help us with shrinking and maybe reducing the overall cost from year to year.
So we're talking about the same money, the $160,000?
Yes, sir.
So actually, if Commissioner Strain is going to do that work, or we're going to do that work?
I would think, and once again, that I am not the police here, but I would think that Raymond Ferrer and them would spearhead it, and it would be, he would hire some group, kind of like they do that with the burying of the Cortec tablets there in all of the backyards there for Bell Chase. It would be some type of program that's similar to that.
And I'm talking about the spraying. I don't have a problem with the health department going around and stabbing the backyard trees with those little pegs. What I'm concerned about is the spraying, the responsibility of the spraying, and this being a program forever.
Forever's a long time there, Mr. Roussel. You know, I had tried to tell y'all and make the plea there once before. We have been through many problems, hurricanes, freezes. Forever is a long time. We're just asking there for help right now. That I don't know, there in several months that we might be 15 foot there under the water, and then we'll all have to move away from Plaquemines Parish. But we're asking you there today that please go in and continue this program. It is a worthwhile program. You can look in the back of the room. I am very proud to represent our citrus growers there today. It is our livelihood. So forever, how long is forever?
How about next year?
God might take our trees from us next year, Mr. Roussel. That only God knows that.
Mr. Beck, now let's be real about this. My heartburn is that if this becomes a part of our operational budget, and we've been doing it for 6 or 7 years, and I don't know that there's an effort to really solve the problem other than coming to the table and appropriating money to continue the program year after year after year. Now, having said that, I'm leaning towards trying to support the fact that we want to do this.
I appreciate that.
Because we're getting state funds to do it. The Department of Agriculture is really where this problem needs to lie. Now, over the last 6 years, because the government had plenty of money, was able to do this and picked up the ball and did this. And as a cost of doing business, you do it yourself. Correct?
We are doing it ourselves.
So the holes that are starting to pop up with the lawsuit, then we can't spray this guy, but you're saying we are going to spray the organic guys anyway.
No, sir. I did not say that.
Okay, so we're going to leave those holes in the program to where the bugs could get into the organic groves.
We're gonna hope and pray that the beneficial insects will keep the bad insect in those groves at bay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So nothing has changed over the last, this will be the 15th time that Plaquemines Parish government would be spraying our industry. So nothing would have changed. You know, Mr. Russell, I can see that you're concerned, you know, and I can sympathize with you that money is tight. But it's going to be, you know, in the next few minutes when y'all go to vote for it, you're going to have to make that decision whether we're worth that insurance policy, even though that we're spraying. You know, if that money that we're asking you to spend to go in and protect $10 to $12 million industry, reported. On top of that, the restaurants, the gasoline stations, and it's just a multitude of people. So you will have to ask yourself then when you pull that lever, hey, I'm in. You know, hopefully so then, Mr. Russell.
I understand, Mr. Peck. Now, my heartburn again is, you know, trying to solve the problem. You know, if I do vote for this today, because it's state funding, it's going to be hard for me to vote, and impossible almost to vote next year, because we haven't addressed the problem.
Mr. Russell, this is that we're going to come back up in the late fall there and ask you there to spend one more time. So, you know, this is done
That answers my question.
Twice per season. Yes. You know, there's no
Okay.
sense in holding back.
Okay,
You know,
I understand. So, you know,
This $160,000 should cover this spray in the fall, if I'm correct.
Charlie, I'm not real sure how that money, that money is definitely coming. I don't want to mislead anyone here. I don't know how that is going to be written, whether it is going to be strictly appropriated for the killing of the abandoned orchard, or if parish government can just take that money and beg and borrow. I'm not that real certain, but the money will be in place for our citrus industry.
well, let me just make it clear to me. If this was up in 2 weeks from now, I'd vote for the $160,000 because it's coming from the state. However, that'd be the last vote, because I'm not interested in having to answer to all of my other constituents who are not in the industry why we're not helping them as well. And so it's a hard decision, but because it's an ongoing, and obviously you just kind of gave me my decision about we'll be back in the fall, we'll be back next year, we'll continue to do this. It becomes part of our operational budget.
Adopted that, Mr. Russell. There, but for the money that I'm asking you to spend, you know, are we worthwhile you helping us? You know,
Okay.
that is the question. You know,
Well, that's a rather personal question, whether you're worthwhile. I think you're all worth a lot. But am I willing to set you aside on a special area because of this unique problem and treat you differently than we treat everybody else or any other industry in the parish?
Mr. Russell,
That's the thing.
I would hope that if a similar issue was to take place with our fishing industry, that you all could find there the money and you all could help that fishing industry there as well. This is the citrus industry, that we're not reinventing the wheel here. That we're asking for you all to keep this program in place for the 15th time. So that we're not reinventing any wheel.
Problem is that the wheels got to come off eventually. And, you know, if we're going to be providing this service from now on, it's hard for me to to sit here and do
For
this.
now on that is a long time.
You
know.
said that, and I understand that.
Yes, sir.
I asked for next year, and you said yes?
I cannot give that answer. My answer is not going to change. I don't care how you try to change it, you know.
No, I want to be honest with you.
I'm being
I don't-
very sincere as well there, Mr. Russo.
You know,
You know.
I think I've expressed myself to where we go with this. So I'm going to leave it alone. You know, I've probably dug a deep enough hole already.
I'd like to move forward, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
I'd like to say something before. I talked to some of y'all in the past and in the last few days, and I told y'all that if Commissioner Strain would help us, like I asked him when he was here, that I would support y'all. And this is the reason I'm going to vote for this, because Commissioner Strain does look like he's doing what we ask him. So this is what I want to tell you.
David, Commissioner Strain has told me definitely that he is going to have there some money. I was hoping that he was going to be able to text me and say, hey, done deal. I don't know how much money it's going to be yet. I'm not going to lie to you and have y'all come back and say, well, Rick, that you lied. But there is money that's going to be given that to our program. That's all that I can say, you know. But thank you, Mr. Irvin. Thank you. Is there any other questions?
Councilmember Lapine.
I see we're going to receive $160,000 of state funding. And Charlie, I don't know if there's any way we're going to appropriate $40,000 from the general fund, get reimbursed. Where will this other $120,000 go? Will it go into a fund? Is it going back into the general fund? Is there any way we can earmark it for spraying? Because you could be back here in October asking us for another $40,000?
That would be a question that Commissioner Strain would have to answer on how it can be used. That he mentioned to me several times, it was to shrink and reduce the abandoned groves to help Plaquemines government lower this annual cost year after year after year. Whether you all can borrow that money and then pay it back later, possibly. But I'm not going to lie to you, Kirk. You know, I'm not certain there on that whether the legal aspects that what you can do with it.
Right. Again,
Yeah.
I support the project, and I support the citrus industry by far. I would like to see if we could set this up some way that you don't have to come back to us every time, and you need, if we can dedicate it to a citrus fund spraying, that it will stay there, and maybe each year from the state we can revisit it each year and say, is there any extra money? You know, knock on the door, find out where we can get some more funds. But again, I'm hoping, I don't know how the legislation is going to be written to say what we can and can't do with the money.
Well, let me just, it's my understanding, at 6 o'clock this afternoon, when the adjournment comes, the sine die for the legislature, it'll either be in the budget or it won't be in the budget. After the conference committees today, we will know. That's why I was asking the author to defer it for 2 weeks, so we will know what to do with this money. And I know nobody wants to hear that, but that's...
Mr. Roussel, wait broke the bridge.
Okay.
That we've been waiting. Listen, I really feel that in my heart that this program needs to stay in place. You know, and I really hope that you can, at the last minute then, Mr. Roussel, vote yes on this. You know, so please, go in and consider, look who we have up in the back of the room. These people, this is their livelihood. You know, so yes, I'm speaking, but this encompasses many, many people. So I'm begging you to please consider saying yes.
Mr. Beckner, I wish you wouldn't beg me, because I would like to be able to support you. I would like to be able to know the facts at 6 o'clock this afternoon, and in 2 weeks I might very well be able to do that. But today...
Benny, they were asking for $40,000 for the helicopter. These chemicals is already in your Plaquemines warehouse. This helicopter pilot has already told me, Ricky, I've kept this schedule open. I can spray y'all grove next week. It's $40,000 for the helicopter usage. I mean, we're not asking for millions of dollars
but-
here.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to
Mr. Chairman,
interject here.
Mr. Bartholomew?
a request is 3-minute discussion, please, break. 3 minutes.
Okay, we're going to recess for 3 minutes, if you want to.
I would prefer not to recess.
It's requested, a motion on the table, seconded by myself.
Well,
for-
Before we, I would like Mr. Edgecombe to please remove his second. I want to offer with some additional changes.
Proceed.
I'd like to insert on line 21, section 2, whereas remaining said funds of $120,000 will be dedicated strictly for the aerial spraying program. And with those changes, I'll ask for a second.
Now-
I'll call the question, bring it to a vote.
Question's been called. Machine is open, unfortunately.
Excuse me.
Seven to one. Ordinance adopted with Councilman Salvon and myself voting no.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank y'all all. Thank y'all very much there on behalf of all of the citrus industry. And Mr. Roussel, I can see that you did not there, but maybe we can win you over there, you know, maybe.
Mr. Becknell, it's easy to win me over with the facts and if we got an answer and a solution for the problem. However, you know, if we would have waited another 2 weeks, we will know what this money is going to be dedicated to. So you may be back here asking for something that we haven't really done because we have dedicated money from the state that we don't know if we're getting, and the issue's already done, so we really need to.
It's going to help us do that, Mr. Roussel. You know, thank you all there once again, and Mr. Roussel, maybe we'll get you some of those big navels and maybe sweeten you up a little bit, you know. Yeah, thank you.
We'll move on to item 6A1.
An ordinance approving a plan of re-subdivision for the property of David Ilg and D&D Ilg LLC, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, is shown on a map of re-subdivision Lot 17A and 18D into Lot 17A-1 and 18D-1, Bell Chase Section D, by Hugh McCurdy III, PLS, dated July 21st, 2015. The owners, having fulfilled all of the requirements of subdivision and re-subdivision ordinance of the Parish of Plaquemines, without cost to Plaquemines Parish government or the Parish of Plaquemines, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Councilman Lapine.
Offer is read.
Councilman Lapine offers is there a second? Second by Councilmember Juneau. Any comments or discussion on item 6A1? Hearing none, machine is open. And the ordinance is adopted 8-0. Councilman Burt was absent on the vote. We'll move to item 6A2.
An ordinance to amend Chapter 15, Section 15-4, speed limits to include provisions to change the speed limit on Paul Morgan Road, Boothville, Louisiana, to install the appropriate speed limit signs, to establish a penalty for the violation thereof, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes, this is just to lower the speed limit on a road where there's residents living now. It was previously 35 miles an hour, asking it be changed to 25 miles an hour, and I offer.
Councilman Williams offers is there a second?
Yes, sir.
Second by Councilman Edgecombe. Any comments or discussion on item 6A2? Being none, machine is open. And the ordinance is adopted 9-0. Move to item 6A3.
An ordinance approving a plan of re-subdivision of the property of Ty Dan and Ben Tak, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, shown on the map of re-subdivision, tract P-1 into P-1A and P-1B, Popich Lands, Inc., Division Buras, Louisiana, by Dufresne Surveying Engineering, Inc., dated March 25, 2015. The owner, having fulfilled all of the requirements of the subdivision and re-subdivision ordinance of the parish of Plaquemines without cost to Plaquemines Parish government or the parish of Plaquemines, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Councilmember Williams.
I'll offer as read.
Councilman Williams offers. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Edgecombe. Any comments or discussion on the item? Hearing none, machine is open. And the ordinance is adopted 8-0. Councilman Black being out of the chamber. Move to item E. No, excuse me, I'm sorry, B.
An ordinance to amend and as amended readopt Chapter 1, Article 3, Section 2-30 of the Code of Ordinances relative to creating policy for employment for all Plaquemines Parish governments of parish attorneys, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer and ask for a second. Second by Councilmember Bartholomew. Any comments or discussion on the item?
I have a question.
Councilmember Lapine.
With this ordinance that takes place, there will be no outside interest that any attorney can do? Am I reading that correct?
It's a policy that creates full-time employment to where they're prohibited from representing clients outside of the parish, correct?
No other clients?
Correct.
Thank
Comments? Comments or discussion on the item?
Yeah, just one. Does
Councilman
that
Black.
preclude them from representing family members or,
I'm willing to accept an amendment if you want to make that exemption to the ordinance. I have offered that before and had gotten no response.
let me confer with the,
Right. Mr. Henry.
I'm not going to ask for an amendment.
Mr. Russo? Hey, thank you. You all about good government. This need to be done. This need to be done. It's long overdue. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments or discussion on the item? Hearing none, machine is open. And the ordinance is adopted 7-2. We move to item E.
An ordinance to amend the 2015 Road Maintenance Fund Manpower Structure and Operating Expenditure Budget, Road Maintenance Public Right-of-Way Department, Personal Services line items, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Councilmember Burt.
I'll offer with changes.
Councilman Burt offers. Is there a second? I think you distribute the changes first.
I'll let everyone have an opportunity to read. It's a lot to reread, but I'll just kind of give you the idea of what's going on here.
Let's get a second on it. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Savant.
What we've done was we've created 2 positions in the prom department to help with the grass cutting. So what we've done was we've unfunded a graphic art designer in the sign department and a vacant clerk in the flood department. These grass cutters are very much needed right now, and in working with Mr. Wallace, we felt that those other 2 positions were not as important, so we'd like to move forward with this. Again, I think it's an area that this parish is in dire need for, from Bell Chase to Venice, so I would ask everybody's support on this. It's no additional cost in the budget. It's just a transfer of funds from one position, 2 positions to 2 new created positions. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'll offer.
Councilmember, it's offered and second by Councilman Savant. Councilman Bartholomew.
Yeah, I just want to, Mr. President, know that the East Bank is also in need of that as well, that service that's going to come through as well.
sorry, just a comment. Any further comments?
Yes.
Councilman Salvin.
Yeah, I just personally want to commend Mr. Burt for his efforts. Just as he said earlier, this is something that we we are in dire need of on the lower end, and I just want to commend his effort.
Councilmember Lapine.
Mr. Wallace, this passes today. How soon could we have some people in place? Do we have a list already growing of potential candidates for tractor drivers?
Yes, I have a list. We're just waiting for it to be filled. And we got to go through civil service, but I have a lot of people that's calling, and I have a little list that
So we could
we talked
expedite.
to Brad. Right, we talked to Brad, and he's gone.
We could expedite this pretty fast,
Yes, sir.
hopefully.
We can put that pretty fast.
Because the growing season's upon us.
Just add one other comment. As stated in a previous council meeting, there's actually 8 pieces of equipment sitting idle, and we're going to work hard to try to get those filled. Because, like I said, this is a very important issue right now, parish-wide.
And all those the position that's open, the one you really need is the one that shapes cuts the ditches, and the slope mower that puts down in the bottom. You have to have at least a skill point. You just can't put anybody on that machine. So we talked to Brad, and he's going to try to, if I got the personnel, we'll do a little swapping over. It's the same pay. They got a couple of people that really would like to do that.
Any further comments or discussion on the item? Hearing none, machine is open. And the ordinance is adopted 9-0.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Move to item F.
A resolution authorizing the council secretary to seek requests for qualifications to retain the professional services of an attorney or law firm to represent Plaquemines Parish Council for such advice and legal representation as it deems necessary and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Councilmember Edgecombe.
Yes, sir, offer it with changes. I think I passed the changes out.
Councilman,
Everybody got them?
following changes. Any comments or discussion on the item? Councilman Edgecombe offers. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Williams.
All right, this is pretty much what it states. I think pretty much all my colleagues I talked to, I think with the exception of 2 of them, that we kind of all agree that we need our own representation as far as attorneys, and of course, no disrespect to Mr. Joel and his team, Shannon and them, but we have some questions that we have to ask that are kind of confidential, I guess you could say, and I think this is a dire need for this. I'd ask my colleagues to support this, please.
Any further comments or discussion on the item? Mr. Henry.
Could you tell the public what changes you just made on that?
Yes, sir, I'm sorry. The changes were on line 11 of the old one. I'm adding another whereas said attorney will be retained via contract and will not be an employee of the parish. Also, on line 16 of the old one, I'm adding after the word firm on a contractual basis. That's all, sir.
So you won't be getting a salary?
Correct, it'd be on an as-need basis, yes, sir. Correct.
Okay. Bob told me about a salary, so.
Who told you to ask? Bob's got 2 legs. He's welcome to come up to the podium.
How about under the bus?
Any further comments or discussion on the item? Hearing none, machine is open. And the resolution is adopted 9-0. Move to item G.
A resolution authorizing the parish president to investigate, implement, and enforce a cooperative endeavor agreement between Plaquemines Parish government and the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries to harvest and sell alligator eggs from parish-owned lands and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Councilmember Bartholomew.
Offer as read.
I'll second and ask for any comments or discussion on the item. Any comments or discussion on the item? Hearing none, machine is open. item is adopted 9-0. Move to item H.
An ordinance authorizing the parish president Amos J. Cormier Jr. to work in conjunction with Fire Chief Roy Robichaux and initiate plans to rebuild the Woodlawn Fire Station and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Councilmember Thalamy.
Offer as read.
Offered. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Lapine. The only question I have, is there a financial plan on how this will affect the merging of the EMS and the fire department? Do we have a thought that far in advance yet?
Councilman Black?
I mean, my question is have we spoken to Chief Robichaux, and what is his intent to create new firehouses on the East Bank in relation, not just for EMS merger, but for fire rating purposes, and what is required? I haven't had any conversations with him where he wants to put it in Woodlawn or Port LaHash. Maybe Councilman Bartholomew can elaborate.
Mr. Chairman, the Woodlawn Fire Department building was destroyed through the storm. And what we plan and requesting that we build it on parish purchase land that we paid Mr. Giordano for to put the fire department there. Now, there was not enough space between the White Ditch and Braithwaite to put in between because it's too far of a distance to have one firehouse, but we can have a little mini substation that's already there that's acceptable according to the fire ratings to meet the standards of having a lower fire rating. And not another complete firehouse, but we need to rebuild the Woodlawn Fire Department firehouse because of the storm that was destroyed twice, matter of fact.
I would add, I would like to just see from, and I'm not sure if Stanley, if you know anything about it, but based on their master plan of where to put firehouses, like Councilman Bartholomew said, based on fire rating and what's required by the state, is this the proper location? I just want to know from the fire chief or from you, Mr. Wallace, is this in the master plan? I just don't want to. If this was a resolution, I would be fine with it. But if it's an ordinance, and I would rather not be
What
fine.
it is, we did the mileage check, and the distance between the appropriate point from White Ditch north would have been right around Mr. Clyde Jones's house. So then when you talk to Clyde Jones to Braithwaite, it's not equal. It's about a 3 miles difference from being in the middle of the area. So no matter what we do in that area up there, we won't ever get it equal. It won't be where it'd be equal. We still will have the problem. We still will have to indicate, have a mini station in there to compensate for the difference of the responding time. Now, but still in all, we still need to have the firehouse rebuilt at Woodlawn. The storm destroyed it. I don't think there's discussion on that. I think we need to rebuild it. Now, if you're trying to find appropriate land and space, I welcome everybody to go look at it and determine which way it is, and we can put it in appropriate land, whatever you want to do. That's fine. But I assure you, when you go investigate and look at it, you're going to wind up there's a discrepancy from the middle of that section to where you would like to put it to accommodate both ends to where it's going to have to be.
Councilmember Juneau?
Yes, is FEMA going to take care of this? Or do we have to go through Mr. Robichaux with the 1 cent sales tax? Mr. Palos knows anything about the FEMA? Mr. Surpass, I'm sorry, Mr. Surpass?
I don't believe Mr. Surpass is in the audience.
Right, but he's the one that's in charge of FEMA. That's the one I want to talk to him about. Yeah.
Mr. Bartholomew, you wish to defer so we can get clarification on these items?
What you want to know?
We want to know who's going to pay for
Fire
it,
chief got
where it's
money
going
in
to
the
go.
budget for the firehouse. See, y'all don't do our homework. Y'all want me to tell you. Y'all do it on the agenda. Y'all are trying to take care of business, but you want to defer it, that's fine.
But why isn't FEMA?
I ain't saying no fee.
Well, I'm saying it. Why isn't FEMA responsible for that if it was tore up during the hurricane?
I understand that. What I'm saying, though, those questions should have been answered. Your question could have been answered during the time that it was set on the table for review. Or if you'd have called me, I don't want to ask them myself. You know what I'm saying? Anybody. We defer, Mr.
Thank you, Councilman Bartholomew. Move to item I.
An ordinance creating a policy wherein any project defunded via ordinance numbers 15-18 and 15-25 will take priority when money becomes available to refund said projects and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Councilman Bartholomew.
Offer as read and as deducted or eliminated or took from you, whatever it is. And when we went to the crises, all I'm asking that wherever it came from during the crisis, whenever that money becomes available, to put it back in perspective.
You're introducing this?
No, I'm asking for a question to vote on.
No, we got to get a second. I just want to let you finish introducing.
I just did introduce everything that's involved in.
Is there
Ask for a second.
The ordinance has been introduced. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Salvon. Any further comments or discussion?
I have one question. Is there any particular order of those line items, or just in general?
In general.
You want to order? You can suggest, Mr. Charlie. You want great. You would like to have an order?
But I think this is the right thing to do. That was districts that was affected more so than others, but I think we all were affected when we had to defund and pull some of the projects off the list. So I think it's just a matter of fact of getting the ordinance in place, and then we can deal with the issues as we move forward.
Does anyone know how many of the projects on the list that have already been done or completed? Any further comments or discussion?
Is there a possibility we can amend line 24 to, line 23 has said projects are, 24 is as follows, and we can maybe put an addition in no particular order? Or, I just don't want people to look at this list and think that.
Random.
What?
If you want to make an amendment,
Priority, basis or something.
Councilman Black, you want to make an amendment?
Yeah, I'll step on your ordinance here, but I just want to make it clear that this is not going to be any particular order.
No, well, if you want somebody to organize it at the recommendation of the parish president. When it becomes available.
I just want to make sure there's no misunderstanding that this is not in any particular order. Is that clear in the ordinance now without amending it?
What's clear to me is that we are talking about refunding projects when money becomes available from wherever it comes from, falls from the sky, in some order. It's just saying we're going to look at these projects one more time down the line, so it really doesn't do a whole lot.
That's fine. I'm just seconding Councilmember Burt's concern with a possible amendment. But if you guys think that it doesn't read that way, I'm fine with that to go with
Well,
Councilmember
it's
Bartholomew's
my opinion
ordinance.
that any project that wants to move forward, we will have to come back and do an appropriation for that project to move it
Absolutely.
forward.
Okay, I'll rest.
Any further comments or discussion on the item? Hearing none, machine is open. And the ordinance is adopted 7-2 with Councilmember Lapine and Juneau voting no. Move to item J.
A resolution approving and authorizing Benedict Roussel, Council Chairperson, Amos J. Cormier Jr., Parish President, and Thomas J. Surpass, Finance Manager, to execute a Louisiana compliance questionnaire to Calder, Champagne, Slavin and Company, LLC, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Councilmember Juneau.
If there's any questions, Mrs. Pines is here from the Finance Department.
Councilman Juneau offers, is there a second? Second by Councilmember Lapine. Any comments or questions on the item? Hearing none, machine is open. And the item's adopted 9-0. Move to item K.
An ordinance to amend the 2015 Manpower Table and General Fund Operating Expenditure Budget by transferring funds from the council attorney department to the parish council department and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Councilmember Byrd.
I'll offer as read.
Councilmember Byrd offers, I second. Is there any comments or discussion on the item? Any comments or discussion on the item? Hearing none, machine is open. And the adoption is 9-0. Move to item M.
An ordinance to rescind, annul, and set aside ordinance number 15-63, establishing the prohibition of mud boats trespassing on public or private property without written permission and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Councilmember Williams.
I'll offer as read.
I'll second. Any comments or discussion on the item? Hearing none, the machine is open. And the ordinance is adopted 9-0. We move to item 7A. 1.
A resolution to readopt and reaffirm the revised priority list pertaining to the parish's long-term recovery plan pursuant to the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Program and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Councilmember Salvant.
Yes, sir. I'm asking that that I can get this resolution offered as a suspension, whereas I can get it added to the agenda today to expedite the process for the library.
Councilman Salvant moves to add an item for consideration today's agenda, to which would be read one more time, please.
A resolution to readopt and reaffirm the revised priority list pertaining to the parish's long-term recovery plan pursuant to the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Program and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Mr. Salvant seeks a suspension to add that item for today's consideration to the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Byrd. Any comments or discussion on the suspension? Hearing none, machine is open on the suspension. And the resolution to suspend the rules was adopted 9-0. Move forward, Ms. Salvant.
Yes, sir. As many of you all may be aware that the original priority list as it relates to the long-term recovery plan had $2 million listed that was FEMA funding. And this, for whatever reason, the money kind of vanished and disappeared and was redirected. So the administration took the liberty of adding $2 million to the community development block grant money back to the recovery priority list. And in doing so, in order to affect that project, you have to have a public hearing. A public hearing was called last week, and it was voted unanimous that the folks did in fact want a library, and where they wanted to place the library. All of that stuff was confirmed at this meeting. So what it is, and the reason we needed to make it hit the agenda today, because we want to expedite the process. It wouldn't have to lay over for 2 weeks. So I'm asking for my colleagues to support me on this.
So Councilman Salvant offers the resolution. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Byrd. Any further comments or discussion on the resolution?
Mr. Chairman. So this resolution, we ask for your support here because we're behind the time clock, and we have to move on this as quickly as possible, or else we stand a chance of losing this particular money, which this administration has worked hard to get back. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments or discussion on the item? Hearing none. Machine is open. And the resolution is adopted 9-0. We'll move to item B. Councilmember Salvo.
Okay, I'm sorry. I need to defer that at this time.
Move to item C.
Discussion by Lisa P. Schuff regarding Loyaya. Councilmember Roussel.
It has been requested by Ms. Pishoff to be on the agenda today to discuss some items. I don't think any of us should say anything too much.
Hello, everyone. Ms. Pishoff actually is with me, and she asked me to speak. I think she got shy.
Okay.
As you know, my name is Joni Hughes, and I'm with La Yaya. And almost a month ago, we spoke here, and we've had some cooperation, and I want to thank you guys for that. And before I start, I do want to make sure that I state that, again, we understand this is a new council, and we're going back to things that happened the previous administration. And I wanted to take a moment to say thank you, President Cormier, for coming by for a visit. In response to Councilman Black's question at the last meeting of whether or not we had received fire marshal approval, we did some research, and that is indeed, we did not. The parish did not receive that prior to the renovations. We had an inspection with the parish, and then we had, I'd called Lieutenant Pellegrin with the state fire marshal, and he came out and did an inspection yesterday, and he has placed a cease and desist order on the building. So just that update. In the process of that, we also received the results of our public information request, and thank you for that. And it is correct that all the money can be accounted for. However, the nature of the way the funds were spent has brought up more questions than it answered. I know several people have been working on that on your end, and we have this is our little audit committee. So we had some questions about some of the things, and that led, in doing the research, it led us to some other questions. The Ames Environmental was what I'd responded to, Councilman Black, is that what I thought was environmental inspection and fire marshal approval last time. That was not true. That was environmental inspection only. But we've been unable to locate any type of review, survey, report, or certificate for those properties. 2 months following that environmental inspection, there's an invoice from Oil Mop Inc. and for removing asbestos from the property. We were confused about that. It was another $7,000. So we started tracing that backwards through the DEQ, the Department of Environmental Quality. What we found was 10 pages in addition to what we had that stated there was a situation where a parish employee was ordered to bury the asbestos on the property, and there was an ensuing investigation by the DEQ, and it was pipe. I'm not quite sure why that was charged against the La Yaya Fund either. What we were not able to find was any ADVFs, paperwork, permits, or anything where there has been asbestos removal in that building. We did find several, 26 permits where stating it's the Plaquemines Parish Fine Arts Center, but those are buildings 200, 203, 400, every building but ours pretty much that's being renovated and used. So that brought up a lot of concerns, as you can imagine. As far as a few of the other items, Han Furniture, we didn't spend $8,000 on furniture. We never requisitioned it, ordered it, received it, or even knew anything about it until that day. I'm not sure what happened there. There was a lot of invoices that are questionable. There's at least one for fixing a street light that's double charged and double paid. Rewiring things through the state school. We're confused, obviously, about why that all came out of that one fund. We'd like some clarification, if possible, on that. Is there any way we could get any clarification on any of those things?
Ms. Hughes, I believe the subject has risen to the level of higher authorities. You
Okay.
might have been in contact with them, and at this point in time...
I wasn't, no, sir.
At this point in time, I believe that it's best left to the investigators to follow through on what is going to happen with this.
Okay, okay.
And I think that's where we're at today.
Okay, so basically, we just leave it alone and let the investigators work it out, is that,
Well,
is that?
I'm not saying.
No, I'm not putting words in, I want
Yes.
to make sure I understand so that I can instruct everyone.
Yeah, my position is that while it's under investigation, best let the investigators do their work and move on. The only concern I have is that if the fire marshal has put a cease and desist order on a building, then I would assume that no one from your organization will enter the building again until everything is cleared up. Is that correct?
What is, he said no children, only we can go in and remove our items, and we're trying to pull our pennies together now to get some funding to have a storage facility to put our items in while all this goes on.
Yes, ma'am.
But he did give us permission for us to be able to do that,
And when do you think that will be complete?
as soon as I can get my pennies together.
Oh, for the storage, I understand. If there's anybody in the audience that would like to help, I would encourage them to contact you after this and give you any assistance that you may have. And once the investigation is complete, we hope to be able to make public whatever they find.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate everyone here. And again, I'd like to say that everyone's worked with us, and just reiterate, we understand this was a previous administration, a previous council, and not everyone on the previous council, I'm sure. So thank you again.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, and appreciate all of your efforts. Thank you. Move on to item D, discussion on litter enforcement. Councilmember Burt.
I'll give a brief update. 2 weeks ago, we had the opportunity to travel up to St. Tammany Parish, myself, Councilmember Salvant, our Attorney Shane Landry, and a few of our JPs and constables. And our purpose there was to see how they conduct their litter court and how their JPs and constables interact as far as litter enforcement. And I can tell you that they run a very successful program up there. And we actually have laws and ordinances in place right now that, for whatever reasons, we just tend to not follow it at times. So just as an update, for the council members that were not in attendance and for the public, we do plan on moving forward here in the near future with an aggressive litter enforcement program. And, I'll answer any questions if there's any questions, or Ms. Salvant, if you have any comments. But I was very impressed with the trip, and their lead enforcement officer is willing to come down to Plaquemines and give us a presentation on what they do, how they do it, all the fees associated with it. And I think everyone would appreciate that parish-wide once we do start to implement this program. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other further questions or comments on the item?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Salvant.
I too was impressed with the program, but being impressed with the program, it means that sitting in the audience observing it, I didn't realize that it's going to be a culture change for Plaquemines Parish. And first, we have to start with ourselves. And I would just ask that the administration, that's why I thought it would be so important that we expedite the tractor cutters, the grass cutters and all, because it'd be sort of ridiculous to try and enforce a litter program when you have the grass high is 10 feet, so all have to work together. So, but I think, as Mr. Burt said, it's a very worthwhile program, and I too was impressed.
Okay, any further comments or discussion on the item? Mr. Henry.
It's hard to try to compare St. Tammany Parish to Plaquemines Parish. Highly middle class area. Plaquemines haven't gotten there yet. Maybe Belchase, rest of the parish. Hey, I don't have money, man. It takes money sometimes to do some of these things y'all want people to do. I mean, you gotta look at some of maybe your constituents
No.
to handle that situation. But you got people, man, that really don't have no money to do some of these things you don't want people to do.
Right, but Mr. Henry, it doesn't cost any money to keep your window up and put your trash in a bag and throw it in a can.
I understand that.
It costs a penny.
I understand that.
So that's where we're really headed with this, is to try to keep people.
I understand that. But here you want to enforce people to do some things. Now, come on, man.
we want to make sure that they don't throw their trash on the highway. It's that simple.
And
Doesn't cost a penny.
then you're
It
gonna
costs a lot of
fine
money
them.
to pick it up.
Then you're gonna find them. They ain't got the money to pay. So what happens then? You gonna put them in jail for it?
No, we'll make them go on the highway and pick it up.
Yeah, part of that whole program, they do, through the judges division, they do have a very aggressive litter abatement program that we would like to also entertain.
The bottom line is, Mr. Henry, is don't throw your trash out and you wouldn't have a problem.
I don't have a problem with it, but I still don't see how you're gonna be able to find people who don't have no money. What you do with them?
Community service, picking up trash, that's my answer.
Don't work that way all the time.
Any further comments or discussion on the litter issue? Hearing none, we go back to item 5, revert to items of introduction. Council, any further at this end?
None.
None.
I have none.
An ordinance to amend and amend it to readopt Section 4 of Ordinance Number 142, the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance of Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, as amended, and the Comprehensive Zoning District map therein adopted by reference and which is par thereto with reference to application number 2015-125 dated April 21st, 2015.
Thank you. Any further introductions? If not, at this time, we'll revert back to executive session, item 1A1.
Michael Mudge et al. Versus Plaquemines Parish Council et al., 25th JDC, case number 60-909, Division A, Attorney Shane Landry.
Councilmember Burt. Councilmember Burt moves that we move into executive session. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Juneau. Any comments or discussion on executive session? If none, machine is open to move to executive session. And at this time, we will move into executive session. We encourage you to stay if you'd like to hear anything further, but that concludes our agenda, and we move the executive sessions to the end of the agenda so it doesn't tie you up during the agenda. So at this time, we'll move into executive session. We will return to come out of executive